Hello, hey everybody, welcome to another live show. I am conflicted about today's live show because I do now also want to watch Eurovision, but the good thing is Eurovision only starts in 2 hours, so we're gonna do 2 hours of reading across 3 hours live, and so the final sprint is more or less when Eurovision starts, so it'll be fine. But how are you all doing? Hey Larissa, hello Jess, hey Jeroen, hello Natalie, right? Hello Mika, is that your name? What are you guys going to be reading? I have finally finished a book. I mean, I finished a book like the first day of May, but it was like a book that I should have finished the night before, but I just kept on falling asleep. So I finished a book that, I only had 40 minutes left to read. To listen to. So, this is the first book that I finished that I've started in the month of May and actually finished. So, I had a hugely how you call that ambitious TBR for May, and it's coming quickly clear that that is not going to happen. But I'm on to my second book, which is People Person. I don't have the dust jacket with me, so I can only show you sprayed edges, but it is a contemporary book, and I am 60 pages in, so not that far. Eh, Ahoy, Tufty. Hello, Nadim. Came in time. Yes. Really hope Belgium goes through. Netherlands stranded last Tuesday. I mean, I have not heard the Belgian entry, so I don't know whether I am rooting for Belgium or not. So, but apparently it's like a weaker semifinal compared to the first one. So, apparently, according to the bookmakers, we will make it into the final. But yeah, I tend to go into Eurovision pretty like blind, let's say, because I don't listen to any of the songs in advance. So we will see. This is actually the first time in a very long time that I've actually bothered to look at the semifinals, but it's just because we're talking about them on Sasha's Discord. So it just like increases my motivation to do it because other people are doing it. Other people's excitement is getting me excited. Hammock time. Wow, because here it is like raining. There's like I had to when I walked home from the bus stop, I was like, okay, did I just see lightning? And then it started to rumble. I was like, okay, thunder and lightning. I have to like get home quickly. It didn't make it home before it started raining, but at least I made it home semi-dry. But so here it's like horrible weather all day long. It is not hammock weather here. Still reading Ready Player 2. Nice. I've never read either one of them, but Teeth in the Mist. Like, it can only remind me of Gorillas in the Mist, but I'm sure it has nothing to do with it while listening to the audiobook. Nice. Oh, I saw three neighborhood cats today. They yelled at each other but didn't fight. Wow, they didn't fight? This is a occurrence that does not happen here. When there's meowing, there's usually fighting as well. Hello, Kitty. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I am. Hope you are also doing well. It's almost a weekend, and then next week I only have 3 days of work, so very much looking forward to that. Hello, Ruff. What are you reading today? It has just clouded over here, so I think my hammock time may be at an end. Looks fancy. Yeah, it's like not a special edition. I mean, I guess it is a special edition, but I guess it's like the Waterstones edition, I guess, because this is one of the books that I bought on the first book buy after Zero TBR. So this book has been on my shelves for over 300 days, and it will greatly improve my statistics if I finish this one. Oh my god, nice. Here it's raining all day. Yeah, same. But now I'm home and showered, so I don't mind anymore. But hammock would be great too. Yes. Sprayed edges. Indeed. Oops. Stop jumping. I will be reading The City of Brass. I need to make progress in it so I can finish it on audio while works during work tomorrow. It's still my first book for Desert Autumn. I mean, those above was my first book for Desert Dawn, and actually, I I forget all the prompts all the time, so I actually need to check whether people person could fit the second prompt, because yeah, maybe it cannot. But yeah, I don't know. I'll be probably be very low key about this readathon in the end, because the you know the reading mood just isn't there, or like it's not there, but I think the thing that kind of really set me back was Those Above, which I really struggled with at the beginning. Though I ended up giving it 4.5 stars, so it ended up turning around completely. But yeah, it just was slow going. It needed to be taken in slowly, and it panned out to do it like that. Is this your first time reading City of Brass? Finished The Mist of Avalon earlier today, and I'm now quickly reading Jesse Weston's From Ritual to Romance, and should be done by the end of the sprints. Nice. How did you end up enjoying? Like, did you end up enjoying Mist of Avalon by the end or not? I will hopefully start Beautiful World, Where Are You? And also work a bit on my reading journal. Nice. I'm finally reading Priest of Crowns, fourth or last in the series. Is that like the Priest of Bones series? Because otherwise I don't know. I have been reading Assassin's Quest for the past hour in my hammock. It is glorious weather here today. Wow. Are you close? Will you be finishing it? Hello. So my pre-sprint reading means I'm in credit for sprint stage 1 when I will make dinner. Nice. Book buying. I'm finally feeling withdrawal symptoms via my book buying ban challenge. Just push through. Push through the discomfort for a little bit, and then afterwards the rewards will feel just like even better. Teeth in the Mist is a gothic horror retelling of Dr. Faust by Christopher Marlowe. But so far the teeth are not actual teeth. The mountains reminded one of the protagonists of teeth. Okay. I don't think I ever read Dr. Faust, right? Or maybe I had to read like an excerpt of it for like when I was doing literature studies. I have that series, but have not read any yet. I follow the boy on the Twitters too. Okay. Hey, Barbara, really reading Migrations? Yes, you can definitely still get a few things done in this, and I'm suspecting you will probably be tuning into Eurovision at the final stage of these sprints. Lol, it's a lie. Okay, so I guess you're not close to the end yet. Mist was interesting for my video, but not exactly enjoyable. Good bits, lots of boring stuff in between, and the annoyances of new age second wave feminism. Yeah, you made yourself read it. It was your own choice, but hopefully you get something out of it for a future video. Love this series, such a distinct narration, so it's really easy to fall back into. Okay. For Migration, okay. Have you read it? I think it's like because the cover that Barbora has looked different, I think, than the one that I had in mind. But is it like the one that has like a glacier or an iceberg cover as well? Because then it's kind of on my sort of like maybe one day TBR. Okay, you've just passed the 50% mark. I'm aiming to make this the best research video on Arthurian legends and retellings this side of going to an actual university, so Mist had to be in it. Yeah, I understand. Hammock time is ending. It just got cold. Sun went in. I did read Migrations. I really enjoyed it. Okay, nice. This one has been quite affectionate at this point in time. And now, because I'm putting attention on Fate, Buffy immediately jumped up and is now jumping in. This is the typical jealousy behavior of Buffy. And actually, I wonder whether you will see her the entire evening, because if it's going to start storming again, then she will disappear. Because when I arrived home, it took like an hour or so before she made her first appearance, because it was storming when I arrived, and so she was hiding underneath the sofa. Needy floofs. Yes, she's a little bit obsessed with me at the moment because I brushed her. And I don't know whether she's just trying to make me brush her even more. But the thing is, it's very annoying to brush her because Buffy gets super jealous when I brush her. And so brushing her is just like 3/4 of the time I'm brushing Buffy instead, whereas Buffy is short hair, so she doesn't need to be brushed. So it takes a super long time to get through. I just had the first fight with the cat a couple of days ago. Today we are back cuddling. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it went well. They you can have your tense moments with a cat the same way as you can have with people. All right, let's go for the first sprint. See you guys back in 40 minutes. How did you guys do? I am going through this one pretty quickly, so that's nice. I read almost 40 pages. So basically, I thought that maybe, because I'll probably only read in the first two sprints, so I thought that maybe I'd get to the 100-page mark by the end of these sprints, but I'm actually there more or less. I'm at page 98. But this book, I didn't know much about the premise going into it, and I won't say much, I think, because I think part of this is spoiler, even though it happens in like chapter one, no, chapter two. But basically, all I knew was that this is a book about like half siblings. So it's like their dad basically slept around a lot, and so they are five young kids who only share a father, but the father is not part of any of their lives, and they are not part of each other's lives neither, except for the fact that one day their dad decided to like take them all out together to get to know one another. But aside from that one day, they've never really met one another until disaster strikes one of the siblings, and she calls for help from the others. But the disaster that strikes is just not what I was expecting, and has been creating some very funny situations so far. But I'm also constantly confused about where it's set, because I'm always thinking that it's like taking place in the US, but it's actually in the UK. I guess because there's a lot of talk about like not going to the cops, fear of cops. Especially because the protagonists are black people, but that just automatically places it in the US for me, you know. Also, it has this sort of like neighborhood watch person, which I also, that type of character I see a lot in US based books. So I'm just constantly thrown when they mention something like the Thames, for example. And I was like, the Thames? And then I'm like, I'm right, this is actually a book set in the UK. So sometimes I'm thrown because of references like that. Where was I? I think here. Let's see if I will actually read anything. I've been consuming so much fan fiction instead of books lately. I mean, embrace it. What I have been doing the last 3 days is I've been kind of like skim rereading some like historical romance novels. I had a huge historical romance phase, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, maybe already by this point. And because I started watching Queen Charlotte, I just got back in the mood for historical romance, and so I've been like skim rereading some of the books that I enjoyed the most from that time. But that's really like addictive. Just more fictions to go, and I'll be done with that part. Three more non-fictions, and all of it is finished. It's a lot of reading, a lot of dedication. I applaud you for that. But I'll try to record the first part tonight or tomorrow. Nice. Good luck with that. Yes, just so far it's amazing, but I have so much left. Gotta channel my inner Sasha to make it in time for the live tomorrow. Is it like a very long book, or like is it something that you just need to like really dedicate yourself to, and then hopefully it will still be possible? Hello, Denise. I hope you have a lovely evening. Hope you do as well. And I don't know whether you are still here or whether you were just saying hi, but if you're staying, let me know what you're reading. The Wolf and the Whale. Hello, Yolene. I know the cover, and like I think her name is Jess. Yeah, Jess. Nevertheless, which is a channel that I enjoyed watching, and she's been off for a while, but she's back now. I think she also really enjoyed this book. Hello, Ewalds. I have packed away the hammock and come to you live from my garden picnic bench. Tree blossom is being wafted around by the winds as the birds chirp merrily. Wow, sounds perfect. Here I've heard some more rain, but no further thunder so far. Hey, Charlotte. I read the first 50 pages of Her Scarlet Letters. I assume it's a Scarlet Letter retelling. I had to read the Scarlet Letter for yeah, I guess maybe my American literature class, though maybe just English literature in general, but I was not a fan. I read 9 pages, reading slow, but damn, it's beautiful. You know, as I said earlier, like I also had this one book this month so far that just I really couldn't go through quickly, at least like for the first half or so. But you know, it can be really rewarding to have a book that you know you just have to take in slowly. As I was making dinner, I was listening to a podcast that mentioned the Eurovision. I don't think I've ever watched any of it. Apparently, it's been hosted in Liverpool this year on behalf of Ukraine. Yeah, so Ukraine won last year, but the runners up were the UK. And so, because of the war, Ukraine cannot host this year. But it is kind of like a co hosting situation to some extent. So, I think there were multiple countries who offered to host for Ukraine when they were unable to do so. But you know, it made most sense to have it be the UK, I guess. But so like there's quite some integration of Ukraine into the show as well. One of the hosts is Ukrainian, and then I think there's also like a backstage host who kind of does like the red carpet stuff and things like that. He's also Ukrainian, and then I think like the final act or so after the live show was done by Ukrainian singers, or at least one of them was. Um, and then, you know, in Eurovision, when they're going between acts, there's always this sort of like small little video clip that kind of like shows scenery from the place of that band's origin sentences that shows like a little bit of the scenery of that place or of the hosting country, and then kind of introduces the band to some extent. And this year this shows like a place in the Ukraine, and then a similar place in the UK, and then a similar place in the country of the band that is about to perform. But yeah, I've enjoyed so far the integration. There was also this little bit in which like Graham Norton was doing a sort of like skit about the history of Eurovision, and in which he was kind of demonstrating the opposing like the opposite experiences that Ukraine has had being quite successful at Eurovision versus the UK, which for the last 10 years at least has not been doing that great. I have no idea how much I read during this sprint, but started Fires of Vengeance today, and I'm 200. Wow, you're such a fast reader! 260 pages in already in one day. 4.5 chapters into From Ritual to Romance, lots of Fraser and other 19th century anthropology, obscure fertility rituals, and the Adonis cult. Nice, interesting topics there. I love this audiobook so much. I'll have to listen to all the audiobooks by this author. I hear they all have audio effects, music, and multiple narrators. I love like audio effects. The audiobook for Lanny by Max Porter also has that. I think that was my first audiobook that I ever heard that has it, because like one of the characters in Lanny is a tree, and or like it's like a mythical character basically. It's like Father Nature, more or less. And so when you hear from his perspective, then you hear like bird songs and like wind rustling through trees and stuff like that. Got distracted by my phone. Maybe some reading in the next sprints. There's always the next sprints. That's correct. It's the UK now because of the Ukrainian war. Yeah. Your police description for your books described the London force. Yeah, I just didn't realize that it was also the case with in the UK, that there's like a more like, I don't know, how do I want to say that, a more aggressive police force, or a more like fearful attitude towards the police. I read a chapter. I'm thinking I'm taking a shower in the next one to wake up a little. I was supposed to take a shower as well, but I'm gonna go swimming tomorrow, so it always feels so useless. I've been in the bath, and now I'm watching game streams. Nice. I should have read something, but instead I watched the songs of Eurovision. You watch one and the rabbit hole is there. I'm really going to read next sprint, I promise. Yeah, I can imagine. But I don't know, I always like to just like experience it first in sort of like the concert atmosphere compared to seeing them in like a video clip first. I should be finishing The Legacy of Villains. Will I though? No. Well, we've established that you won't be finishing it, so no pressure. It's not that long. It's 260 pages with small fonts, but I've been very tired this week, plus distracted by a new video. Yeah, probably that second. I can imagine those types of scenarios. As I always like to remind people, not every copy in the entirety of the US is a corrupt racist. Yeah, yeah, definitely not. Not what I was saying, but when like I feel like disregarding for this specific case people of color, that there's more like there's a different attitude towards the police here. Definitely for people of color, I can imagine that that's still the case here, because there have also been some incidents that have happened here in the past that definitely also are not okay. And definitely in general, probably in many countries around the world, they do see that there is more, that there is sort of like racism within the police force, or that people of color are more likely to be picked on by police, or to be taken, like, to be, how do you say that, to be like, that the police are watching them more carefully and are like more ha, I don't know the words for this. That they're more likely to, like, pay attention to a person of color and see them doing something bad. That whereas with a white person, they might just like not even pay attention to what this person is doing, because they assume that they're not up to anything bad. But yeah, always in every police force, I guess there is the bad apples and the good ones. But yes, this is how the U.S. police force is is portrayed, though. That is for Barbora, I assume. Last evening, I was sat outside at my picnic bench as Panther, the black neighborhood cat with the 5 meter exclusion zone, came wandering around some plants, stared at me, turned around, squatted down, and did a poop. Well, if they feel comfortable doing a poop in front of you, then I mean, you've made a friend. Yep, it's a retelling, but I barely know anything about the original book. But I have watched Easy A, so that must count, right? I have actually not watched Easy A. I guess because of its association with the Scarlet Letter. I also wasn't a big Emma Stone fan originally. I did get to like her better as I saw more of her work. Then its mate turned up, the cat with the whole garden exclusion zone, and did much the same. I guess I know where they like to leave deposits. Exactly. You're the safe space for leaving their shit around, but it's fertilizing. Boyfriend got me Hogwarts Legacy for Christmas, and it just came last Friday, so we are nerding out. It's that took a long time, right? Because I think it came out quite a while ago. No, yeah, I haven't seen anything of it basically. Just checked Audible, and they don't have the other audiobooks some reviewers spoke of. That's unfortunate. Do you have Script? Maybe Script has some of them available, and very occasionally, but that's really, really like almost impossible. Is that sometimes YouTube has it, but that's really very exceptional, and mainly the case with classics because of the copyright, I assume. It's absolutely gorgeous. That happened to my dad with a huge buck in our backyard. What's a buck? I don't know why I want to say that that's like the male version of a super big animal, but maybe I'm confused. Who apparently maintained eye contact during that, the game where you need to herd the rebellious goblin bankers into cattle cars. Yeah, that's all. Like, I mean, I only heard some stuff about a goblin war plot or something like that, or a goblin rebellion. I have a friend who comes from Liverpool and lives there now, who has historically been a big fan of Eurovision. He's living his best life now. He used to host Eurovision parties and such like, just never been fussed by it. I mean, I always enjoyed it when I was like young, like up until let's say like I don't know 20 maybe. I always would watch, but at some point I just like grew out of it, and then I also didn't have a TV for a very long time. Not that you need a TV to watch it, but then I was just like less aware of it and less in tune with it. But then 2 years ago, right, the year that Maneskin won, I coincidentally watched it because I was with friends for a week, and then we only had two TV stations available to us, so that was what was available to us. And I really fell in love with Maneskin then, and so I got back into Eurovision. We are only 10% into the game, but there was no hurtlings, goblins yet, but they stole some cards which we had to retrieve. I was wondering if the cats go somewhere private while dumping out, but I didn't have to burst out laughing from the maintained eye contact. My book buying band challenge has been going pretty well. It's been a month since a physical book arrived on my doormat. It's great not waiting in for packages to arrive when I want to be outdoors. See, everything has their benefits. I actually was hoping to receive a book today, but Amazon disappointed me again by saying, "Yeah, we are having some difficulties or some delays with your orders." Like, wait, how can you only realize today that you won't be able to deliver today as you said you would? It's a pre-order. I wanted it. I need to read that soon too. Maybe this should be sequel month. The first one read so fast and was so good. I've already Fires of Vengeance, right? That was the book. But I need some stuff for a garden project, specifically to pump a pallet planter I made for some potatoes. So I have Amazon Man coming tomorrow. It was hard to resist adding the books set in the baskets, but you managed to pimp a pallet planter. Okay, yeah, I don't know much about pallet planters, so for me it was like, I guess you pump a pallet planter then. Finished my dinner and about to start The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. Yeah, I did not like this book, but I've been called blasphemous for that opinion. So hopefully you will have a good time with it. And it's short, so even if you don't have a great time with it, at least it's not a long page count. There are multiple reasons why law enforcement is structurally racist everywhere and has a tendency to persecute marginalized groups with more prejudice than the majority populations. With I think I read over the spelling error. So I'm reading and absolutely loving Assassin's Quest, even the walking. I'm investing in all the little details of wading through snow and having a wet cloak. It came out on PS5 and some other platforms, but we have PS4, and there it came out a couple of months later. Okay. Our hero in Assassin's Quest has traveled and had adventures, been chased, escaped from situations. It's just drama upon drama, and I'm loving it to bits. He's just had a wee bit of a sore shoulder. I think, like, for me, just like Royal Assassin just fits so many of my personal things that I really like seeing, or that just like really gets me like that really, yeah, that just really worked for me. And then Assassin's Quest was quite a letdown after that because of it, because of not having those elements that I enjoy. Ah, okay, so it is a male version of a pretty big animal. I just had like a bison in my head or something instead, which is much bigger, but apparently had huge antlers too, and Dad was like, "Yep, you go right ahead, sir." Wouldn't that be a stag? I don't know, is that like, because indeed, stag is also what I imagine is a male deer. Does that just kind of depend on the deer, or is that the sort of like US versus UK English sort of deal? April and May are so busy out in the garden, so having to hang around indoors waiting for delivery is such a pity, I assume. But I'm going to have a massive haul of books when I resume book hauls. Sure, that works too. Probably clearer. Maybe it's just a local preference things. I've never known anyone near me to call them stags. Okay. At the moment, I think I'm going to have to give the nod for my favorite book of the trilogy to Assassin's Quest. I mean, if you're liking that bit, I'm sure Assassin's Quest is for you because I definitely enjoyed parts of it, I think. I don't know. Assassin's Quest did drag for me quite a bit. Um, like, even that beginning bits, I remember being really excited about the ending of Royal Assassin and about where that could potentially take Assassin's Quest. But then it went in a different direction, or like not a different direction, but just it's when we then get that first section in Assassin's Quest, it didn't feel fun or whatever I had been expecting of it. So even there, I was a little bit disappointed with Assassin's Quest. So Assassin's Quest, yeah, it was just not entirely my thing. But I mean, I still gave it like 4 stars or so because it was still Robin Hobb and there was still a lot of things that I really enjoyed about it. But in comparison, it's just like not that great. Eh. Pain in the ass. I was already assuming it probably stood for something else as well, but I was like, I have no idea. Google says stag is an adult male deer, buck is any male deer. Okay. Hence the term young bucks for a group of adolescent guys. The world in a queue feels big. Some books I read, they travel from A to B and just arrive. Where yeah, I do like the journey thing, though. In reality, a lot of times the journey it bores me. A lot of times when I've had it happen, those are the parts of a book that I enjoy less. I will get back to these comments after the sprints. So see you in 40, guys. All right, how did that sprint treat you guys? I did a little bit less well than last time, but I still got more than 30 pages read within 40 minutes, which for me means that I'm going through this one rather quickly because my reading pace is normally a little bit slower. But yeah, it is also contemporary, which, is a genre that typically also just reads a little bit quicker for me. Um, Here. And the stag party when one of them becomes officially a man. Yeah, young bucks pronunciation. And then they become the stags. Yeah, it's said bucks are usually young deer, but generally would be any male deer. Okay. I don't know if I see the deer again. I'll be sure to ask him his age, if it please the jury. Yes, we need the answers. So please do. I go to read, so it's a reading pre-sprint to cover off me having dinner in stage one. That feels pretty legit. Yeah, gotta get those pages in to get to the Live Ship Trader series next. I was on the phone as always, and now catching up with dinner. How did you like Queen Charlotte? Are you finished? I'm not finished yet. I've only watched like the first two episodes, I think, and I've never watched like Bridgerton. Is that how it's called? Bridgerton? That sounds weird for some reason now, but I never watched that, and so I think like some of the like background I'm kind of missing because it feels like there are certain things taken for granted that I'm kind of missing, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just assuming that there's a link with Bridgerton. Yeah, right, something like that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of enjoyed parts of it, but then while I kind of like devour these types of stories when I do, it also really irks me to see like the miscommunication or to see certain like super typical storylines coming through it. And so I don't know whether I like that sort of indication of, that he might. Let's not give spoilers here, I guess. But so I don't know whether I like all of the storylines at this point in time. But it's also like switch off your brain type of media. So to that extent, I'll probably finish it. Though I think my track record when it comes to series is very bad. There's so many series that I start and then just like lose interest in after like two or three episodes and then I never finish. Read 16 pages. Now I'm gonna quickly jump in the shower and then watch a bit of Eurovision. Yeah, I'll be in the Discord to talk about it. I already have it open but muted. But yeah, it won't. It hasn't started yet. It will probably start midway through this talking bit, and then maybe the first songs will hit when the first sprints hit. I read some more pages, but have just had to tear myself away from a scene to return here to report it on my progress. Drama as our boy's shoulder ache eases and he prepares to walk on. In chapter 8, The Lands of Longinus, the cauldron of the Dagda, the tarot, Indian sword and Cretan bull dancers, modern magic and their relation to the Grail, the joys of bullshit anthropology. I love the way that the laptop stand eases in from the side. They're very convenient and on hand. Yeah, this laptop stand is always here. It's just the most convenient thing ever. I love that purchase. Slow and steady wins the race on page 304 now. Nice. Buffy making herself seen. Yes, she is enjoying her usual perch. The lap is hers. Fate has been trying to claim it a little bit over the past few days, but it's typically Buffy's territory. Read about 10 pages of Realm of Ash after catching up, really liking it. Nice. Indeed, I do need to crack on with the live ships. I'm slightly worried that I'll be so comfortable in this Farseer trilogy and then have to switch to something different. I mean, I do know some other people who don't like live ship just. Um, so it is always possible for you to not enjoy live ship as much. I will say that like on your Leans Discord, we have a subthread for Realm of the Elderlings, and one of the persons there was definitely saying like somebody was considering like skipping it, and they were definitely saying like please still read it even if you don't like it as much, because it's builds into the experience of the whole series. And so, like, skipping live ship to some extent would maybe impact your enjoyment of some of the Fitz books because you wouldn't see the other side of the story to some extent. I'm just hoping that you're also gonna love it, but we don't always see eye to eye, and I think what you enjoy in the book is not the same as what I enjoy in the book. So live ships works really really well for me, but it might be that the Fizz books work way better for you than live ship. Read 15 pages of Beautiful World. Find it hard to concentrate today, too many thoughts. So maybe I switched to an audiobook. I'm listening to volume 2 of Before the Coffee Gets Cold. Yeah, I definitely felt that for like the first few days of the month, and also like it's reflected in my reading pace, because I think for the first like 8 days or so I was only reading about 50 pages a day, which for me is on the lower end, in the sense that if I just like read regularly, I get to like 80 or 100 pages a day. So we were definitely getting to a lower range of my page productivity. I want to get Theat finished today so I can submit it for Escape the Readathon and get started with a different book I need to read until Saturday evening. Yeah, I've given up on Escape the Readathon just because, as I said in the beginning, this is like the first book that I finished that I could count for Escape the Readathon, and so it feels like I'm not able to contribute anything because they're dropping these prompts, and I'm like, but I haven't finished anything yet. There is a link with Bridgerton and Queen Charlotte, but I liked Queen Charlotte more. Definitely deeper themes. Okay. Joining in the chat for the series over on the Grimoire Discord is hard work because they're all so far ahead of me. I pipe up with my little voice to report in on some oh gosh moments. I mean, I also always enjoy like seeing comments from people who are like reading something that you've previously read. Like, for example, it happens sometimes on Zara's Discord that, like, I think recently somebody was, I think in that case, rereading A Course of Dragons, and so they were adding their commentary to our commentary when we were doing the read along for it. And so I like that. I also like them just like seeing their comments and kind of re-experiencing the book that way as well. Only read one chapter. The parts in the Oasis are yeah. I've never read Ready Player One, but the Oasis, I hear people always talking about it. But so those parts are interesting. The real world stuff is boring and at times really fucked up. Main character is a total jerk. Why did Eurovision have to schedule things in when you need to be doing something else? I mean, to be fair, when I saw that they were at the same moment as this live show, I wasn't actually bothered by it because I wasn't planning to watch the semifinals. I just got way more excited than I thought I was going to get about it. And yeah, the only thing I guess is, even though I definitely haven't like I'm not patriotistic or anything like that. So, but it would be typical if like the 10 minutes that we will do the chatty bits after this at the end of the sprints, if those would be the 10 minutes in which Belgium will be performing, because I have no idea at which point in the show that they will be like, I don't know how many acts they are. I'm hoping to pass the 100-page mark tonight, but I'm also getting hungry, so we will see how long it will last. Live ship is better than Farsi. I definitely feel like it's the case for me personally. I prefer the Fitz books, but love the live ship ones. I only started Farsier to get to live ship and Rain Wild. Characters do less whining and more arse kicking too. Yeah, I also feel like that. I feel like because you have multiple characters, you don't have to like, I don't know, you're stuck with Fitz the entire time in the Farseer trilogy. And while I didn't necessarily feel like I was stuck with him most of the time, I definitely enjoyed the change in live ship where you have multiple perspectives, and it was like, you could kind of have a breath of fresh air from time to time from a new character, you know. But on the other hand, if you really, really love the one character you're following, you might get the disappointment from having to follow another character from time to time. Not so much the Rainwild ones, though. Yeah, that's such a sad thing because in Live Ship Traders, Rainwilds is always making me like interested. You know, every mention to the Rainwilds makes me intrigued to find out more. And in Matchship, we already get some more information, and I do like that. But so it always makes me intrigued about the Rainwild Chronicles, even though I know that they aren't like they're not as well received, and they have a whole lot of a bad history with their publication that potentially impacted its quality. So when I was considering my April TBR for the Keymark Discord, TBR Blitz Readathon, I even asked the boys and girls on the Grimmark Discord if I could pass Assassin's Quest and skip to Ship of Magic. Feedback was no. I mean, to some extent you can because they aren't super connected, I think, though. Yeah, maybe I do get that to some extent. I don't know whether you see that link in book one. That's because they're fits absolute absolutists. Is that a word? Absolutists. How do you pronounce it then? You could totally start live ship without finishing Farseer. Yeah, I mean, it always says that you can kind of choose which one you start with. There are certain links but I guess it's like, it's an interesting question, kind of. Like, if you start with live ship, how different is your experience versus the ones who start with Farseer? You know, there's a movie duology that I think I've already mentioned in the past, but it's called The Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby, Him and Her. So it's two movies. It's the same story, but one is following the guy in the couple, the other is following the girl. And depending on which one you see first, it could totally impact your experience because the one you watch first gives you sort of like ideas about or like assumptions about the other character, and then when you watch the other perspective, then you know, you see what they were going through at that same point in time and how that doesn't or maybe does align with your assumptions. So that is kind of, it's in a similar vein. I think that it would be interesting to see how different the experience is of somebody who actually does start with live ship traders. But you can submit everything. If you have nothing for the prompts, you can just keep reading whatever you want and submit it once we're back to mood reading. That's true. That's true. Ready Player One always sounded like a dumb cash grab for millennials with 1980s nostalgia. What is the Flash? Yeah, it's the Eurovision live show. I mean, it's muted, so I don't have anything out of it. It's just to kind of, it was just so that I would see whether it was on already or not. But I have now seen that Belgium will be the fifth act, so I should be more than okay during the 40 minutes of the next sprints. You could start live ship before finishing Farseer, but it does technically take place after. Yeah. Well, if that would happen, you can just let us sprint for 10 more minutes. I failed hard at that TBR Blitz readathon. I think I've decided to swerve commitments for the time being until I can catch up with the rest of the Hop read along folks. Yeah, I mean, to do it at your own pace. You know, I know you want to be able to talk about it with them at the same time, but it's also like not worth you stressing about it so much, you know? Several people do that. They just read and submit once the prompts are done again. Okay. I just do not have the spare time units in which to fit in everything I'd love to do. Don't we all? Everybody struggles with, you know, Too little time, too much interests. This weekend I have masses of garden jobs that are getting critical. I have loads of motorsport on a telly box, and the weather is going to be very, very nice. Hammock time. 1 second. Oops. Yeah, throat was getting a little bit sore there. You'll definitely feel differently about a certain important character if you read Live Ship before Farseer. Huh. I don't even know who this certain important character is. Didn't Stephen King write a story of his twice? Or was that a pen name with a different writing style? I've not read very much King, so I do not recall the book. I don't know that. I mean, I've also not read super much of King, and it's not like I like keep track of King because I don't really have an interest in reading more of his work. Um, it's definitely not the case for any of the books that I have read, I believe, but it would be interesting. A rather cryptic character that's I mean, I guess I know which character now that makes them feel foolish. Well, Realm of the Elderlings reading order matters not for me in the end, as I'll be reading in the correct order after all. It's totally a cash grab, but sometimes entertaining. It's more like the author is gushing over his nostalgia about 80s, 90s stuff, 80s, 90s stuff he grew up with. Yeah, just need to give some moisture to my to my throat because I've been doing a lot of talking apparently. But yeah, what else can we still talk about? Because we still have a little bit of time, and I am trying to think of a topic to discuss. Ah, I got an email yesterday that I once again have access to the ticket sale for the Olympics. Um, so tomorrow at 12 I would have access again, but this time we figured out that you actually do get to see the ticket prices in advance, and so we checked out the prices for gymnastics, but for like a final for gymnastics, the cheapest rate you can get is 125 euros, but it is really like the very top of the stadium, like the two highest rows in a stadium, and the best tickets you can get are like 600 plus euros. So, yeah, the second cheapest are already almost 300 euros. So we had previously, when we didn't know what the prices were, we'd kind of said like we'll do it for a maximum of 200. But so, yeah, we were kind of debating because if we don't go now to Paris, we'll probably never go to the Olympics. But now we've just kind of decided like it's not worth that cost if we're then basically gonna have a way worse view than we would ever at home. Because like, yeah, sure, it'll definitely be the case that at home you'll always have the kind of the best view because the camera's like right next to the people. But the atmosphere is definitely worth something, but it's not worth that amount of money for those shitty places. So we will just soak up the atmosphere at the World Championships instead. But it is a little bit sad because I do want. We were kind of like really excited about the idea of like, oh, let's go to an Olympics, but it's just like it's way too expensive. I have no nostalgia for that era, so I just don't care. The text seems to be ripped off from Snow Crash, though. Sometimes when I am on the phone working, helping people in our squad, I tend to run out of puff and momentum after 2 hours of the telephone. Wow, that's a lot of phone time. King did Desperation under his own name and The Regulators by Richard Bachman. Okay. Still need to read Snow Crash. Don't know it. Doing stuff seems awfully expensive nowadays. Concerts, Olympics, eating out. Fortunately, I do none of these things, so I can live sparingly, except for a few too many book hauls. Yeah, I mean, and aside from that, you need to pay for the Thalys tickets, probably the cheapest part of the entire trip. Like a hotel room in Paris, extremely expensive. And then food in Paris, which is very expensive compared to the amount of food you get. So I don't even like Paris. So, yeah, I think we will just do a sort of like Olympics party, I guess. Maybe take some time off. I did that last Olympics. Now I probably won't have to, but previous Olympics, because of the time difference, if I wanted to watch it live, I did. No matter how much I like a specific sport, I really, really don't want to throw money down the maw of the monster that is the IOC, one of the final bosses of the Society of the Spectacle Capitalism. Yeah, sure. If you look at those prizes, like certain finals cost 950 euros. That's the most expensive tickets they sell. 950 euros for one event. So let's go into the final sprint. I'm going to be turning on my volume of the TV and watching some Eurovision, and talk to you later. And we made it, guys. Another 2 hours of reading done. In my case, another 1 hour and 20 minutes, right? of reading. I've been watching Eurovision right now, but it's like I had read it in advance that like our chances of getting to the finals are pretty good because the second semifinal is quite weak. And I mean, I got a second set because most of the songs are just like meh. Uh, like the one song that I've liked the most so far is, I think, a song that I wouldn't have wanted to go through based on the first live show, for example. So we got lucky there because I didn't necessarily like the Belgian song all that much. It's fine, but no, I'm not going to be rooting for it. Definitely not. Wait, where was I? Eh, think more or less here. I've watched motorsport all my life and have never been to a race. Snow Crash is the end of cyberpunk literature in the classic sense and a highly entertaining sci-fi thriller. Okay. I would rather buy myself a new hammock than big seats at the Olympics. Yes, I have been looking at some fancy hammocks lately, even though my 20-year-old frame is perfectly adequate. But the ones that you were sharing on Twitter looked gorgeous. Yeah, no, I definitely not when you guys were watching, but I'm also like not. I don't feel the need to like when I'm watching something with music, I don't like feel the need to move. Like, but if I'm on my feet, then maybe yes. I have it on my on my the sci-fi shelf, but right now it's blocked by a chair, so I can't see Snow Crash. First, need to finish this book. Does one get to vote on the songs? Like, is there an app and you have a special login to submit one vote, or can you spam votes? Like, they changed it a little bit this year, but so during the semifinals, if your country is one of the countries competing during that semifinal, then you can vote, but you can only vote for the other countries that take part. You cannot vote for your own country. Um, Voting does cost money, so that's I've only voted once for Eurovision. Aside from that, I never wanted to spend money on it, and you can vote a total of 20 times, I think. And then now they changed it so that the rest of the world can also vote, so countries that don't take place in the part in the competition at all, like the United States, for example, could now also vote during using that app. So you can vote, and there is an app, but yeah, you need to spend money on it, and like it's €1 or so for a vote. But still, I'm just not gonna do that unless I'm really excited about a song, I guess. Clearly, I have absolutely no idea at all how this Eurovision thing works, and this is the closest I've gotten to being involved. Perfectly normal. It's not only the ticket prices, it's the brutal context with the hosting city, the exploitation of everyone involved to make more money for the machine, the complete disregard of the environment and human rights, all in the name of maximizing profits. Yeah, definitely, indeed. I didn't even think on that when you mentioned it earlier, but indeed, it's like it's such a huge impact, and like the fact that for all of these Olympics, they're like building like 20,000 new stadiums every time, and the exploitation of labor force that goes into that, and not just necessarily labor force. Like for the Beijing Olympics, for example, they removed so many people from their homes in order to be able to build those new stadiums in the places that they wanted to build them in. So it's just it is indeed really sad to see those things happening, or like the kind of injustices that happen on daily basis, and that because of like a lack of putting funding into certain things, but then you are putting funding into something as massive as the Olympics. And I think prior to the Tokyo Olympics, I read a book called Tokyo Ueno Station, which was also a it was also talking about the previous Japan Olympics. I don't know whether they were also Tokyo Olympics, and like the exploitation of cheap laborers to build those stadia at that point in time, and how all those people were just like used at that point in time and then totally abandoned by the system afterwards. So yes, indeed, like it's a huge event that involves so much money and so much dodgy decisions, let's say, in its history. So indeed, yeah. For what should just be a celebration of sport, but because of its size, it just, becomes something that's not sustainable anymore. Got to page 353, solid day of reading. Wow. I think I only read that much in a day once when I was like or maybe a few times, but not that often, but like always in the case of like a challenge. I think like when I did like the Becca's 48-hour bookoplathon, then probably. And then I once challenged myself to read like the entirety of Six of Crows in one day. Then I struggled to get that many pages done in one day. I read some pages in this third stage, dunking arms into a stream, if you recall that bit. No. So that means I read pre stage one and during stages two and three, which is more than usual for me. Well done. Soon you will be doing reading every single sprint. Made a banana milkshake and listened to my audiobook. Ooh, I still have my banana. I put my banana in my backpack to eat at work today and I totally forgot about it. Read some more of Realm of Ash and did Duolingo. Yes, should also still do Duolingo. I was singing along to Mike Tramp, the White Lion songs while I was reading my book just now. I don't dance though. Come on. Voting costs money? Nope, out. Yeah, I don't know who's all these people who are actually spending money on voting, but I mean, apparently people are still voting. Or, like, who knows, maybe just like three people voting, and then those three people determine like the entire vote for a country. Just moved my washing machine because I'll get a new CV kettle tomorrow at 8, so need to clean up around the place where it stood. Like those competitions to win such and such by phoning a special rate number? Nah, no thanks. Yeah. And you made me live watch Eurovision even though I don't have a TV. But yes, there's a stream. Yeah, I'm also watching the stream. I mean, I guess I could also watch the stream of the Belgian broadcaster because then I would have like commentary with it, which I don't have now. But to be fair, I kind of found the Belgian commentary, a little bit annoying. So if I could have Graham Norton's commentary, I would prefer commentary to no, but now I'm like, okay, it's fine. Eurovision does have some outside Europe participants. Morocco did have an appear somewhere in the 80s, and Australia is currently participating each year. Are they? I don't. Are they also competing this year? I think they've competed like two or three times. But yeah, it's the sort of thing like if you're part of the European broadcast, I don't know, group or invited by them. Much the same thing occurs with some racetracks that get built by a government after moving people that live there out of the way. Yeah. Chapter 11 now, Fisher King's fish symbolism, Attis and Adonis cults as the origin for the Grail story, and more entertaining nonsense that later ends up in Wicca and through that in Mists of Avalon. Nice. Whoops, I'm so far behind. IOC, FIFA, and FIA are among the top global corporations that need to be broken up and their executives, well, executed, I guess. I saw Mike play the White Slide. I don't know this song. Wait, Cleo, you don't remember Fitz finding a magical stream in? I mean, I'm just, I clearly, I have a very horrible memory in any case, but yeah, I don't remember the magical stream. I have the White Lion songs baked into my head after all these years, so his new cover albums worked really good for me. I saw a picture on the Twitters, and there were some glammed up ladies in Ukrainian colors representing something or other on the Eurovision. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure whether that is the case, whether you need to pay. or whether everybody who pays. I mean, I don't think we will ever invite the US, right? The US would just, they would take it too seriously. They don't understand that it's a silly thing, Eurovision. Um, but yeah, it was something like you needed to be invited by the European broadcasts thing. But I guess if you pay them, then the European Broadcast Union would be like, sure, come on. You are welcome. Thanks for keeping me company. I did some reading prior to the sprint. So, actually, what I didn't read during this sprint, I read before the sprint. So, I still got my pages in for the day. And I think it's one of my better reading days for this month so far. But so, next week, back on as usual. It will be a bank holiday for me, and I assume for quite a few on here as well. So, see you guys then, and enjoy the rest of your day. They had won, right? I think because of the success of Maneskin, a lot of US people discovered Eurovision, and so this year or last year they made the US version. But they only just, it's very recent. Good night. So yeah, I am ending it here now. See you guys next week. Bye.